Welcome and thank you for listening to this Paragon Edge audio blog. Testing an ATM network has never been simple. Between tight release timelines, complex transaction flows, and the need for absolute reliability, QA teams often find themselves under constant pressure. Much of that pressure comes from the way testing has traditionally been done, manually, repetitively, and often against the clock. But what if improving your testing process didn't require a complete overhaul? What if a small, practical change could significantly reduce effort, improve consistency, and give your team faster feedback? In this article, we explore how ATM teams can take a simple first step toward a more efficient, scalable testing approach without disrupting the way they work today. If you manage an ATM test lab, you probably recognize the following scenario. A new ATM software release is approaching. Product managers want new features and functions validated. Developers are delivering updated builds at the last minute. Meanwhile, your QA team is standing at physical ATMs running through long test scripts, repeating transactions again and again. Manual ATM testing has worked for years, but it comes with some familiar frustrations. Test coverage is limited by time and people. Results can be difficult to reproduce exactly. Regression testing takes days or weeks. Developers wait longer than they should for feedback. Innovation slows down because testing becomes the bottleneck. None of this is anyone's fault. It is simply the way ATM testing has traditionally been done. There is, however, another way to manage the process, and the first step is much smaller than most organizations expect. Many ATM teams assume test automation requires a major transformation project. In reality, it often begins with something very simple, creating a small virtual ATM sandbox. Using virtualization tools, organizations can start by modeling just 2 or 3 ATM types from their fleet. These virtual ATMs behave just like physical devices. They process the same transactions, display the same screens, and connect to the authorization host over the same communications path. The goal is not to replace all physical lab ATMs or shut down the test lab. Instead, it is to add new testing capabilities that augment and streamline existing operations. Within this virtual environment, teams can begin recording common transaction scenarios and replaying them automatically. They can validate host interfaces and message flows and repeat tests consistently across multiple cycles without needing to stand at a physical ATM. This creates a testing environment that is more repeatable, more reliable, and more responsive. Once a test is recorded, it can be executed again and again in exactly the same way. One of the most effective approaches is to combine virtual and physical testing during the early stages. A test can be recorded using the virtual ATM environment and then repeated on a physical ATM, allowing the team to compare results. Over time, confidence grows that the virtual environment behaves exactly as expected. This allows teams to adopt automation gradually without abandoning existing processes. Instead, they gain a new tool that removes repetitive workload. As a result, tests that once took hours to repeat can now run in minutes. When organizations begin exploring this approach, the first step is usually a simple conversation with experienced ATM testing specialists. These discussions often focus on how testing is currently performed, how many ATM models are in the fleet, which parts of testing consume the most time, and where automation could provide the quickest benefits. They also explore what success might look like in the coming months. Rather than jumping straight into technical demonstrations, the next step is often a scenario-based demonstration tailored to real challenges. Instead of presenting features in isolation, the focus is on real situations that matter to the customer. This might include demonstrating how automated negative testing can uncover unexpected transaction behaviors, showing how host interface validation can be repeated consistently across cycles, or exploring how large regression suites could run automatically overnight. Because experienced specialists have worked with ATM networks across different environments, they are often able to highlight opportunities that teams had not previously considered. This stage becomes a collaborative exploration where ideas are tested, questions are asked, and practical options begin to emerge. Once that shared understanding is established, it becomes easier to define an initial deployment. This often involves virtualizing a limited number of ATM models, automating a core set of transaction scenarios, and running those scenarios alongside existing manual testing. The aim is not perfection at this stage, but progress. Many organizations begin by automating their first 100 or several hundred core transactions, which alone can significantly reduce the effort required for regression testing. For most ATM teams, the biggest surprise is that automation does not replace or diminish the expertise of the test lab. It amplifies it. Instead of spending hours repeating the same transactions manually, specialists can focus on validating new features, exploring edge cases and fraud scenarios, improving test coverage, and working more closely with development teams. The role of the ATM test lab becomes more valuable, more reliable, and more accessible. For organizations curious about what this might look like in practice, a guided sandbox environment is often the easiest starting point. A small number of ATM models can be virtualized, a test library can be created, and the team can begin experimenting with automated scenarios alongside their normal testing activities. Within a few weeks, most teams begin to see what is possible, and from there, the path forward becomes much clearer. Thank you for listening today.